Hello people, welcome back to my channel. My name is minalvkhona. We have started with a series of tallyprime, and if you want to check out, you can check out the previous videos to create the company, and from the creation we have discussed stock, ledger and so on in detail. Now today we are going to start with transactions. Now what are the transactions which you would require in your daily day-to-day business activities? Now, one of the transactions or few of the vouchers which we may discuss about, we would say that you may receive some money in your business. So that would be receipt. If I talk about some purchases, we would say that would be a purchase voucher or a purchase transaction. If you have made a sale, that would be a sale transaction and so on. Now, every transaction which we are talking about would offer you certain kind of options on the features and on the voucher screen. So let's check out one voucher at a time and what are the features and options which are available on the voucher screen. So today we are going to start with the first entry, which is capital introduced rupees 5 crores and deposited into the bank account of the company. All right, now here I can see there's a capital introduced, meaning this is a receipt transaction. Now, where can I record my entries? You can also check out the previous video, which was about shortcuts. So the same kind of transaction vouchers can be recorded by using shortcuts. But today we are going to see what is my usual path. I am on Gateway of Tally. On Gateway of Tally, you can see this option of vouchers. So I click on vouchers, that is capital V is the shortcut. Now, on the left hand top, here you see accounting voucher creation payment, meaning this is a payment voucher. All right, but what do I have to record? I have to record a receipt voucher. For receipt voucher, you will have to click on F6. The minute you click on F6, you will see on your left hand side top, here this has changed to receipt. F2 is the shortcut to change the voucher date. Now, any transaction which you are recording would have a certain transaction date. So F2, and you can change the transaction date. All right, now what should be my entry? If capital is introduced in the company through the bank account, meaning my entry should be bank account debit to capital account. Now here, capital account is getting credited. Now, if you notice here on your left hand side, receipt, the software is giving you the credit transaction first. All right, now, what if you have a different screen? There's a high possibility that if you're working for a very first time, you may be having a different kind of a screen here. Now, one option is Control H. If you click on Control H, possibly you are seeing a single entry mode. So you can click on Control H and you can change it to double entry mode. Now that is 1 second. The second kind of change which you may be seeing is to and by. So instead of credit and debit, possibly you are seeing to and by. So how do you change that? Now we have discussed it several times that on every screen configuration, that is F12. F12 will give me different kind of options. So here, the very first option, use credit debit instead of to and by. So if I say a no to this, do you notice the change? On my left hand side here, I can see this has changed to and by. Now, whatever you're comfortable in, you can choose that option and change accordingly. Now, you will have to record the credited ledger first. So my credited ledger is capital account. Now, I don't have a capital account. We have seen how do I create ledgers, right? But I have not created any capital account. Now, how do I create a capital account while I am on the voucher? On the top, I can see the create option And otherwise, there's a shortcut, Alt C. Alt C, capital account. My capital account is under capital account. To save and close, Control A. All right. Now, what am I debiting? My bank account should get debited. I already have a bank account created. If you do not have a bank account created, you can create a bank account. What if you want to alter this bank account name, or if you want to alter some details in this bank account? Control Enter, and I can see the ledger alteration screen. I can alter the details. If you click on escape, you can escape from the screen wherever you are in. And if you click on Control A, you will be able to accept the screen. Now, this is my dialog box, which would ask you that you are receiving money through what? So if you're receiving your money through a check or a demand draft, I can give the instrument number here. Instrument number is nothing but your check number, instrument date, and the bank name. All right, here I need to write narration. Either you can write narration, and you can also repeat narration by clicking on Control R. Now, what are my options available on the receipt voucher? Now, one option we have discussed is F12, which is giving me configuration, and I can configure my receipt voucher according to my need. Apart from this, I would have Control H. Control H would give me single entry mode or double entry mode. Whatever you're comfortable in, you can record your entries through that mode. Control I. Control I will allow you to add more data to your receipt voucher. So if I want to write voucher narration, from here, I can write my voucher narration here, being capital introduced. Do you see at the bottom? Being capital introduced, the narration is recorded. Supplier or reference number date. If I want to give any party details, now since this is capital which is introduced, I do not have any GST details. If you click on show more, it will allow you to change the effective date, ledger narration. So for every ledger, I can give a separate narration, and voucher narration. Voucher narration is a common narration for your voucher. Right. So here I have this many options on my receipt voucher. All right, let's save this entry. So now I can save this entry by clicking on Control A or reaching the end of the screen and saying accept. Now, what is my next entry? My next entry is purchased from Reliance Industries Private Limited. What are you purchasing? So here I'm purchasing certain kind of stocks, which is carpets, rugs, curtains, and I have some quantity and rate which is already defined. Now, I am already in the transaction recording, and because I had just recorded a receipt voucher, I can see a receipt voucher here on my left-hand side top. Right, I want to change it to purchase. So how do I change it to purchase? So I can click on F9. If you click on F9, you will be able to change it to purchase voucher because you want to record a purchase. All right. Now, F2 is to change the date of your purchase voucher. All right. Now, F2 is a common option to change the date of your voucher, and Alt F2 is the shortcut to change the financial period for which you're writing your books of accounts for. Now, the very first thing on your purchase voucher is you will have to first change the mode. Now, either you are purchasing some kind of goods or you're purchasing some kind of services. Now here I can see I'm purchasing goods. So if I'm purchasing goods, I will have to change the mode to item invoice. But here I can't see item invoice, rather I am on accounting invoice. Accounting invoice allows me to record any kind of services which you are purchasing. Control H. If you click on Control H, you will be able to change the mode of your voucher. Item invoice, accounting invoice as voucher. Now, if you're recording goods, select item invoice and you will see the change on your voucher. Accounting invoice is to record services and as voucher. If you want to record your entry through double entry mode, that is debit and credit, I can use as voucher. So item invoice and accounting invoice are single entry modes and as voucher is a double entry mode. Now, once I have selected my mode, here this is asking me supplier invoice number. Now, how do you record your purchases? We record our purchases through the bills which were given by our vendors while purchasing the goods, right? So here you are going to write the bill number which your vendor or supplier has given you. So now, for now, I am assuming a number which is RIL 001 2223, financial year 22-23. My effective date is 2nd of April. Do I have this party? Yes, Reliance Industries Private Limited. Now, how are you receiving this goods? You would have some receipt details related to your receipt. So here I can write down the receipt note number which you would have got with your bill. So what is your receipt document number? Dispatched through. What was your destination where your goods were transported to? Who was your carrier or transporter? In importing of goods, I would have bill of lading, motor vehicle number through which your goods were transported. All right, so this details I can feed in here. Now, while you were creating your creditor, you would have given this set of data, that what is the GST number, what is the address of your party. So all these details you will be seeing as per what you have recorded while you were creating that ledger. Now, Reliance Industries, what kind of party is this? Is this an interstate party or an intrastate party? Meaning, are you purchasing within the state or from outside the state? Now, while you are seeing the party details, I can see here the state is Maharashtra and you are also registered in Maharashtra, meaning you are purchasing within the state. This is a intra purchases. All right. Now, what are your name of items? So carpets. All right, carpets. 1000 into 1500. Now, one more click to add one more chalk. So the next chalk which I'm adding is rugs, 1200 into 950. The third is curtains, which is 1400 into 1700. Now, if you give a one more click, you can add one more item. But I only have 3 stock items. So I'm going to give a one more click. All right. Now you are registered in Maharashtra and your creditor is also registered in Maharashtra. So what kind of GST will get affected? So input CGST and input SGST should get affected on this bill. So here I'm going to select input CGST and the system should automatically calculate this GST amount. So let's see. I'm clicking on enter and the system has automatically calculated the GST ledger. If you want to know how do you create this GST ledger, you can refer to the previous videos. Now, Input CGST and input SGST has got calculated automatically. But I have 3 items here: carpets, rugs, and curtains. And all 3 stock items have different rates. So how do I analyze that what is the GST calculation? So for that, you have a GST analysis report. Alt A, Alt F1. This will give you a detailed report on, so I have my detailed report on GST. So on my carpets, 37,500 of CGST and SGST has been calculated. On rugs, 68,400 of CGST and SGST. And on curtains, 2,14,200 is the CGST and SGST. I can also see the rate: 9%, 6%, 2.5%. So this is my GST tax analysis report. All right, now the shortcut I gave you was Alt A and Alt F1. There's one more option, Control O. If you click on Control O, you're going to see this screen, GST tax analysis. You will come back to the same screen, and to view this in a detailed format, you will have to click on Alt F1. If you click on Alt F1, you will be seeing a detailed format. If you re-click on Alt F1, it will collapse the data, right? Okay. Escape key to come out of the screen. Control O also has stock query. If you want to find out anything about the stock, right now this is the first entry which we are recording, and therefore I have no stock showing on the system. But as we go forward, we are going to analyze this report too. All right, apart from this, do I have any other options here? So again, here, if I click on Control I can write down the ledger description, voucher narration. So if I write down the voucher narration here, being purchases made, it would be added to my voucher narration at the bottom. Import details. If you have imported this goods, you will have to give the import details. What is the place of receipt by the shipper, vessel or flight number, port of loading, port of discharge, country to, and so on. Ledger description. For each ledger, I can give a different description. Order details, party details, e-way bill details. E-way bill is electronic way bill, right? If you want to add more, you can click on show more, and you will be able to add more data to your single voucher. You can click on the escape key after you have fed it in the data, and I click on enter, provide GST e-way bill details. Now, if I say a yes, it is going to ask me the electronic way bill details. So here I would have the e-way bill number. So suppose say I'm feeding in a random e-way bill number. It has to be, all right. So I'm keeping it blank. Date, dispatched from which place was your e-way bill, were your goods dispatched from? Where are your goods shipped to? What is the distance between the dispatched from and shipped to? What is the distance between that zone? So there I'll have to write down the distance. Who is the transporter through which you are supplying this goods through? What is the transporter ID number? It is very similar to the GST number, 15 digits, right? What is the mode through which the goods are being transported? Road, rail, air, ship. So these are some of the details which you will have to feed in. All right, now I have a new screen which would ask you, what is this? Is this a new reference, on account, advance, against reference? Now, whenever you're recording this entry of purchase, if I have already paid some advances, I would have to adjust that advances against this bill by saying against reference. But if you have still not made a payment to this party, you are going to make a payment to this party on a future date. And therefore, this is my new reference. If I would have already made a payment to this party or a partial payment, I would have taken an option of against reference and new reference in the case of partial payment. At the bottom, I have an option of narration. Narration can also be repeated by saying Control R. And in this way, I can save the entry. Now, this transaction which you have seen, this is an intra-state transaction. You have purchased goods from within the state. What if you're purchasing the goods from outside the state? So I have the next entry, which is purchased from Anupam Enterprises. So and so are the stock. All right. Now, F2 to change the date. After you change the date, here I'll have to write down the bill number. Now, who is the party? Anupam Enterprises. All right. If you have receipt details, we'll feed up the receipt details. Party details. Now, in my party details, I can see this party is from Haryana, meaning you are registered in Maharashtra and you're purchasing from Haryana. This is a interstate transaction. All right. What are the goods which you are purchasing? So, carpets 1100 into 1650, rugs 1300 into 1100, curtains 1500 into 1850. Now, one more enter if you want to add one more item. And if you have no items or stocks left, I can click one more enter to enter service ledgers. Now, what GST or service or tax ledgers would get affected? So the tax ledger which would get affected is input IGST. Input IGST should get calculated automatically. Now, if it does not get calculated automatically, meaning you have missed out some configuration details while implementing the data. If you have the electronic way details, you can feed in those details. This is a new reference. Yes, if you are purchasing and if you have still not made the payment, this would be a new reference. And if you have already made a payment, you will have to adjust it against the payment which you have already recorded, right? Okay, now narration. So narration, I can repeat it by saying Control R. So if I click on Control R, my narration is repeated. All right, if I click on Alt A, Alt F1. Now, here in the previous transaction, you could see central tax and state tax were calculated. And here, integrated tax, which is IGST, is calculated 5%, 12%, and 18%. So you can also view the GST tax analysis report to make sure that whatever transactions you are recording are perfect. You can also click on Control O and you will be able to see GST tax analysis report. For a detailed format, you will have to click on Alt F1. To come out of the screen, you will have to click on Escape. Now, if you want to view the transactions which we have just recorded, you can click on Escape and come back to Gateway of Tally. One option I have is Daybook. If I click on Daybook, I can see 2 transactions recorded, but I have recorded 3 transactions. So I'm going to click on Alt F2 and I'm going to change the period to 1st April 2022 to 31st March 2023. And here I can see all 3 transactions which I have recorded today. Now, if you want to see this transaction in a detailed format, you can click on Shift Enter. If you click on Shift Enter, you will be able to see the details of the transaction which you have recorded. Now, if you re-click on Shift Enter, it will collapse the details which you have been seeing. I can click on F12. And if I have several entries and I want to see narrations for all my entries, I can click on F12, show narration, yes. Format of my report, detailed, and Control A. So this will give me the detailed report, right? Okay. What if you want to add any voucher from this screen? If you want to add any voucher from this screen, you can click on Alt A. If you click on Alt A, you will be able to add any voucher from this screen. All right. Now here I'm seeing all the entries at one go. Right. I do not want to see all entries at one go. Rather, I only want to see receipt register, all my receipt entries or all my purchase entries. For that, I can go to Display More Reports, Account Books, and here I can see Purchase Register. So if I click on Purchase Register, monthly, I will be able to see all the transactions which I have recorded for each month. I have recorded 2 purchase transactions. If I click here, if you want to click further, you will also be able to alter your entry if required. So I can also alter my entry from here. And if you want to delete your entry, Alt D is the shortcut to delete an entry. If you click on space bar, can you see a light blue line highlight, right? So if you want multi-select, I can multi-delete entries. If you at any go at one time, if you want to delete several entries, you can keep selecting by using the space bar and you can multi-delete all entries at one go. So these are some of the options. And today we have discussed 2 major vouchers, which are receipt voucher and purchase voucher. Here I can see the receipt register. So I have recorded only 1 entry in my receipt. In this way, I would have several vouchers which would be required for my day-to-day business activity. So going further, we are going to discuss more vouchers. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to the channel and like my video. Thank you.